Hey, what is going on, guys? I've got an awesome video for you today. It's going to be talking about 5 different tips and tricks that I have for you to get a better mix in your beats. So if you guys want to learn more about mixing, make sure you go check out my Instagram. I actually just put out a post there a few days ago talking about 5 things that you should not do in your mix. So this video is going to be more 5 things that you should do. And that I think you guys will find that super helpful. So again, make sure you go follow my Instagram. I'm talking more about things like that in the future over there. I'll put a link for that also down below. And of course, make sure that you subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you do know when I upload again. I'll be uploading every Tuesday and Saturday in the future. So make sure you guys subscribe so you know I put videos out. Like I said, I'm talking about mixing today. This is something that I've been practicing a lot for the last couple of years and really just been sort of studying. So I want to take what I've learned and be able to share that with you guys. So yeah, let's get going. All right, so the very first thing that we're going to be talking about is tuning your drums. And this really helps, I find, with mixing. It just helps everything kind of fit together a little bit better and overall just helps your mix a lot. So this track is in the tune of B minor. So that's why, of course, the 808 is in B, but also a lot of my other drums are on key as well. So the kick is in B, and I think, yeah, the other drums, some perks. There's a lot of drums in this one, but I think they're all not necessarily on B, but they're in that scale. And that's what I mean, like, I try and get them on B if I can, but sometimes they'll sound weird, so I'll usually try and get them on that scale. There's always going to be some exceptions to that. I think the clap, I'll go up so you guys can kind of see, B, I believe, there it was. Clap's still on C. So sometimes, especially with the claps, I've noticed it will just sound weird if you do put it on B, or in this case, C sharp maybe. So just kind of play around with that. You can always try out different clap samples and try and putting it on B. I will usually do that, but I like the way that this clap sounded on C. It kind of just fit in right with the beat anyways, so I kind of just stuck with that one. So yeah, that is the first tip I have for you guys. Try tuning your drums. It'll definitely change the way that your tracks sound. I know most producers don't really do that, so give it a try. Let me know how it works for you. All right, so the next tip I have for you guys is about how you actually layer out your sounds. And this is especially useful with melodies, especially when you have a lot of melodies like I do in this beat, but also for all of your other drum sounds as well. So what I'm talking about is where your melodies are like peaking. You'll notice, I'll give this a play. So this one's kind of around 1K. This one's a little bit lower than 1K. This is like 1.5. And then these two are kind of a bit more flat. So they're like sort of more constant. And you don't want to, I can't tell if it's playing or not. It's not. We're good. You don't want to, make it so that they're all on completely different frequencies all the time, but just pay attention and make sure it's not like literally every melody is at the same exact frequency, because then it can get really muddy. Just kind of even get distorted sometimes and just sort of get a little bit too messy. You can also do this with your drums too. And in fact, one tip I have for you guys, I think I did on this hi-hat. I probably did. I always cut out like a little bit of the top part of my hi-hat, and just to like leave room for some of the other like more crispy sounds like the clap. But you can do the same exact thing with your drum sounds, and just trying to get them spaced out nicely throughout the frequency range. So another thing you can do is look at the total equalizer for your master track, and just make sure that everything, obviously the bass is going to be a little higher, especially in more bass heavy music like I like to make, but everything else is relatively even throughout the rest of the track, and it's not like going crazy in the high end or something like that. So just keep an eye on that, and that is tip number 2. Let's go to tip number 3. All right, guys, for this next tip, I'm going to be talking about automation. So two key things I would recommend automating for a better mix are volume frequencies. So cutting out lows and highs at certain points. Something I did a lot in this beat, which is actually one of the beats that I used for my arrangement video. And I break that down and break this stuff down a lot more in this video. I'm going to keep this pretty short because, again, I have actually 2 other videos where I talk about automating things like a lot. So I would just recommend you guys check that out. I just wanted to just talk about this and throw it in there because it is one of the big things that I found has helped my mixes a lot, and I think will help your guys' mixes a lot. So go check out those 2 videos, and I'll give you kind of the rundown on that there. And yeah, let's go to tip number 4. All right, so tip number 4 is going to be all about leveling. So I've got a whole bunch of things to be talking about with you guys for this one, but leveling is by far, at least for me, the hardest part of mixing, but also the most important part of mixing. And it took me a long time to get good at, but I figured out a certain way of thinking about it that has helped me a lot. So what I do is I imagine that all of these sounds need to go into a box or something like that. They're filling up something, and there's a limited amount of room, almost like you're packing a suitcase almost. Like there's a limited amount of room, and you need to be able to get all of the sounds into it, but some of them are going to be more important, right? So typically those are things that are not panned, kicks, claps, snares, things like that, basses, 808s. So they're going to be louder and more prevalent in your mix. They're going to take up more of that box, like let's say 25% for a kick, right? Whereas the less important sounds are going to be a little bit less of a percentage of that box. So the hi-hat, right, for example, is a lot lower of a percentage than the kick is going to be. It kind of, you got to go by ear a little bit, and it just takes practice. But I will be showing you guys a couple of different beats and just talking about how I have each of the sounds leveled and why I have them at those volumes. So yeah, let's just get right into that. So here we are with the first track. This is Still Human, but what I wanted to show you guys here is so the melodies and stuff are actually a lot lower. And this is something I used to do a lot. I used to make the melodies like super crazy loud. Now, I personally like my kicks and my 808s to be like very prevalent in the mix. And that's why you'll see this hi-hat isn't actually as loud as you would think. It's actually a bounce. That's why it seems so loud. But like the kick and the 808s, it's actually 2 808s. Where's the one? 808? Okay, yeah, there we go. Are like much louder than the melodies. The hi-hat, same thing, like quieter. The clap is usually around the same level as the kick. It can be either a little bit louder or a little bit quieter than the kick is. But it kind of depends on what you are hearing and what you want it to sound like. But yeah, so that is this track. This one was hard to level, I remember. It took me like an hour just to like level everything because there's so many different tracks. So you got to keep in mind like how loud each one is and just play around with it. I know a lot of people will actually turn all of their sounds down and then start turning them up. I do that very occasionally. If I'm like really struggling, I'll give that a try. But for the most part, I just kind of imagine it, like I said, like with this box, and I got to fill them up with a certain percent of each one. Now, what I will do is turn them down a lot. I would rather just turn them down and then start turning up the things that I want to be louder. It's always good to just have things be a little bit quieter. Even if, even if I put my limiting on, and, I have it nice and loud, and it's ready to go for that, I'll actually still turn stuff down a lot and then just like turn my kick up, especially if I think that's one of the weak points. But yeah. One of the things I see a lot of people do is like they'll, especially if they have it limited already, they'll just try to turn up the kick and then maybe like turn down like 2 of the melodies. But if you actually turn everything down and then you turn up the kick, it sounds way better. So give that a try. I've got probably 1 or 2 more beats that I'll show you guys just how I leveled it. So yeah, let's go. Okay, so here we are with another beat. I'm just gonna show you guys the master. So once again, right, kick is super loud, yeah, it's practically like at 0 dB. No, I think I might have. Yeah, it's down 6, but that's kind of standard. But once again, right, snare just a little bit below the kick. The 808 is actually a lot quieter in this track. I don't even remember doing that. But is that right? Yeah, no, it is. You know, again, it's just kind of by ear. Like, you'll get a hang for it and just practice it. And if you think about fitting it into that like box, and each thing has a percentage, that'll definitely help you. Yeah, so you guys can see though, melody's definitely a lot lower than like the kick and the snare and some of the other more important sounds. Hi-hats, same thing, a lot quieter. So yeah, hope that helps you guys. Let's do one more. All right, so got this last one. I wanted to show you guys this one because I like this beat. It's actually one of my favorites. But this one, it actually has melodies are a lot louder, which is just something that's a little different. It is a sample that I have chopped up, so that's something to keep in mind. And it's also really wide because I put these phasers on it. And that's another thing. If it's a super wide sound, that'll kind of help almost give you more space. It doesn't, so like, just keep that in mind. But yeah, it'll make like the kick, you can make it a little quieter because it'll almost seem louder than it is, at least in my experience. But again, right, still the kick is louder than the hi-hat, and claps a little bit quieter than the kick, and 808 is a little bit quieter than the kick as well. So yeah, I hope that's helpful for you guys. I could make honestly a whole video just about leveling and just leveling a couple of beats for you guys. So if you want something like that, drop a comment down below, and I'll definitely do that in the future. All right, for this last tip, I'm going to be talking about mixing on multiple sound output devices. So usually what I would do is actually try and mix on as many different like sounding monitors, I guess. I don't know what the word is for it really, but you guys get what I'm talking about. At least hopefully you do, and if you don't, you will. So usually I start with my studio monitors and I would mix it on that. Usually you can get a pretty nice like balance mixed with that. They're just like a good thing to start with. I have Roccat KRK5s, so they're kind of a very standard studio monitor. After that, go to my laptop speakers. So for a lot of these, I'm trying to look for certain things. Monitors kind of just like get a nice bass mix going, but then the laptop speakers, I'm trying to like see if I can actually hear the bass or like the 808, and see if it needs more high end, if I need to put a little distortion on it, like a little bit of buzziness so that you can still hear it. The laptop speakers are not very high quality, right? Usually you can actually feel it more than you can actually hear the bass. And obviously you don't want to add too much. What I would recommend is you get a reference track and listen to that, and then try to kind of compare it and see like, okay, does my beat, like, does it have enough low end? Does the low end need to be buzzier? Does it need a little more distortion? All of those things. So that's usually what I put on laptop speakers, and what I'm looking for out of them. After that, let's grab this thing. I have this just clip Bluetooth speaker. That's usually what I'll check it on after that, and that's sort of just because a lot of people use them, but also because sometimes you'll actually get like zero bass out of it. Like the kick won't be hitting it all, and that's because it's actually too much bass and almost overrides it, which is kind of confusing. But then it usually means that you just need to balance out your kicks and the kick and the bass a little bit better with the rest of the track. Usually I'll find that if I put too much 808 in, then it will totally mess it up. So that's what I'm looking for that when I'm mixing on it, but also just to make sure that there's good enough separation in the sounds. Sort of like what I was talking about earlier, with actual frequency ranges. You'll notice like muddiness and things like that a lot more on like a speaker like that. So that's what I'm looking for with those. Then after that, I have Apple headphones, and this is like the sauce. kind of, I guess. So I usually check it on these because everyone has Apple headphones, right? At least in the US. I'm not sure about abroad, but everyone has Apple headphones, seemingly. So it's just another thing to check them on. And I have these other headphones too that I use for my laptop speakers on my laptop, and that's where I'll actually go through and check out more of my panning, make sure that everything's wide enough, because it's kind of a little bit tougher on monitors. So I need to get some like fancier headphones for that, honestly, but that's what I've got right now. And yeah, that's what I do for those. And then after I'm done all of those on the headphones, I'll go right back to my studio monitors and just check once again, make sure that nothing's too crazy. I've had a couple of times where I'll go back to the monitors and I've like just done something wrong. So it's always good to just try and play it on as many different audio devices as you can. That's the word for it. So yeah, I think that is everything I have for you guys today. I hope that this video was helpful, that you guys were able to learn something. This is actually my second time shooting it because the first time I just wasn't happy with how everything came out. So yeah, again, I hope you guys really like this. Please subscribe. It really does help me out, and like this video. And if you think that you want to share this with a friend, that would also be very much so appreciated, and maybe it would help them out as well. Yeah, thank you guys so much. Hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Peace out.